for is that they put this and made them like in an illegal, like they're like a terrorist group. Like they're painting them as in like, criminals. So that's why I kind of disagree with what he did. I'm for the protest, but I obviously don't like destruction and chaos either. So
1 second, I feel bad. I was muted that whole time. So I'm going to say this is BrackCast 53. We're going to talk about the trucker protests, and we're also going to be going over maybe any follow-up about the war in Russia versus Ukraine. I just went through this article very briefly on why the protests were happening in Ottawa. We were talking about how Trudeau had to call on a state of emergency in order for him to kind of make arrests. That's what Tom was just saying right now. He didn't really need to do that. So the protests, the truckers were protesting because they were being mandated, they were being forced to get vaccinated if they were crossing from the States to Canada as part of their job. And well, yeah, that's like removing, human rights, isn't it? Like forcing people to get vaxxed.
Well,
or they'll lose their jobs.
Anyway, in the next couple of weeks, aren't they? Aren't they removing this whole you don't have to show your status anymore and all that shit?
Okay, it is different. I will say that's not the same thing because, first to start off, getting fired if you don't get a vax, yeah, that touches on some things, I think, in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. However, truckers weren't the only ones that were being forced to vax. So we're healthcare workers, a lot of frontline, like a lot of, like if you didn't,
teachers,
Deji, if you didn't, you would have been fired, right?
Yep.
Like maybe unofficially, or maybe they would have figured out a way to give you less hours or something.
The terminology we use is if you don't have a vaccine by the state, you will be terminated.
Okay.
They kept it short and sweet as they should. Like they shouldn't sugarcoat it.
Okay, so we'll touch back on that. So yeah, the truckers were the only ones, but in terms of why the truckers technically, I think they were being pushed, was obviously cross-border travel on a regular basis. And I think, to require an antigen test or a PCR test to go back and forth over the border is a logistical nightmare. You can't wait for the truck driver to do that all the time. I guess it was a way for them to switch away from PCR to just go rapid antigen, I think. So it was quicker. And it was to avoid additional logistical issues crossing the border. Anyway, that's what I think it was. As for the opening of things now, March 1st, restaurants opened again. Capacities have been increased. We can now eat in restaurants again. We can now.
I don't even know what the.
Apparently,
I think it's unlimited now.
If you require,
right? You can't have people standing.
No, if you require, what I heard was if you require a QR, if you're gonna still require a QR code for people to come in, you can go 100% capacity. But if you don't require a QR code for people to come in, 50% capacity. That's what I heard.
Oh, what? Yeah.
I don't know if that's official.
Everything.
I don't know because that'd be interesting because I know they're going to be scrapping that at the Leaf games and the Raptor games in the next week or so.
The QR code?
Yeah, the fans don't have to show their vaccination status.
Okay, so maybe.
But the
I
workers
thought it was everything.
Yeah, the workers are still different.
Yeah.
Which is irony, right? They're going to scrap the mandate so a guy like Kyrie Irving still can't play home games, but he could go in there and watch a game. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Just like going in a So okay. That's my understanding. That's the summary. Yes, there was they were other people were reacting to these protests saying that you're not just affecting regular work traffic, but if someone was in an ambulance or there was an emergency medical if there's a medical emergency and you're in gridlock, that's your fault. Like people dying, people not getting the help they need in time, that's their fault. And I'm not for that. That's why I don't like disruptive protests. Like even peaceful protests, I don't necessarily think those are effective.
There's been worse. So
yeah,
I mean, I could turn on the news all day on the States and protests are a hell of a lot different over there, where the cops don't even do anything. So, in hindsight, I'm glad that it wasn't as chaotic. But I get both sides that both had to do what they had to do. Like I'm for them arresting people.
Okay.
I mean, that's cool. Like no big deal. Like so. But for the prime minister to go to state of emergency, that's the one thing I just didn't get away with. And stopping the the GoFundMe shit and all that stuff that people are donating, like that. How do you? That's.
Oh, what's that? I didn't hear about that.
Oh man, it raised how many millions of dollars, the GoFundMe page for the convoy, and they blocked it. They
Wait,
took the money.
For them to what? So they don't have to work? Like
Something
was
like
it
that.
covering their wages or something?
There was a donation page on GoFundMe for the trucker convoy, and I think there was like $10 million.
Holy.
And half came from the states. More than half the
Okay.
donations came from the states, but the government froze it.
Wow.
See, that makes no sense either.
Who's gonna keep the money then?
Because of that state of emergency, they're allowed to freeze that asset. See, they just I don't know how that's right, but yeah, it's over $10 million.
Wow.
Okay, so they froze it, as in, like, was the money reversed?
I think they reversed some of it, but
Yeah.
But see, that's the whole thing, because I was watching it on the American news too. I was like, how is that even possible? Because then you could just stop any GoFundMe page.
Yeah.
But because Trudeau put the state of emergency, which recognized them as a criminal activity, so they went around it. See, that's why I hate the guy, and I'm making no secret of it. I don't vote for him. It's just not my guy. He's my prime minister, but still, he keeps winning. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and like, I mean, I read some stuff about like was it an Afghan prince or something like that? Like,
in Canada?
Yeah, it was him. He was like, a prince was sent over, and they like spent all this money on like entertaining him so that they could be in good good favor with like the country.
The miscellaneous funds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that? Here, let me.
That doesn't surprise me though.
Trudeau.
I think it's like regular business as usual.
All dignitaries are treated very well. Doesn't matter where you come from. That's just the way it is.
It's regular.
Okay, I don't know. I read something. It was involving also like a company in like Quebec, where they were like, there was a
like, you work in the hospital, right, Deji?
Long-term care facility.
Yeah. So the people that they got rid of because of this mandate's gone. Can they hire these people back? Has that been talked?
Oh right. What's up with that?
Well,
you don't need the status anymore, technically.
Well, you're still required to have both vaccinations as well as.
Oh, because of the workplace.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because we're looking after like the vulnerable population.
It's the people that come in there, like the patients and the family. You can't ask them. Okay. Gotcha.
Family too, like you can't like visit unless you're. Sorry, no, they changed that. You can visit, but you just have to like have like a certain limit or something.
Yeah, that makes no sense though, right? Like, I mean, if you got more people coming in there than the staff, like, just what's the difference now? I don't know.
I think everyone's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Everyone's
actually, but then there's 20 people that just came in here. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I just wanted to post a story that we're live. Okay, so when they employed that requirement, Deji, for you guys to get vaxxed, if you don't mind me asking, were you already vaxxed?
I had my first dose.
Okay, did they require it to be double?
Yes.
Okay, were you gonna get it anyway?
Yeah.
So were how about people who were technically, I guess, in healthcare, but were able to work from home if they were more like, they work with trials or something? Could they still do that?
That's a little different. I'm sure like there would be like some exceptions to that, because they're not, because the thing with us is we're directly in contact with like the elderly, right? If you're in remote work, the requirements are probably a little different.
Yeah, lenient. Okay, so knowing that you were gonna be in, frontline worker, I know it didn't the mandate didn't really affect because you kind of had it in your mindset that you were gonna get the vax anyway, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you have any coworkers that weren't on that boat?
Well, initially we okay, so when we brought out the policy that public health LTC was looking at making it the mandate for workers to get vaccinated,
Yeah.
there was a sizable portion of the population of staff, I'd say maybe like 40%,
Yeah.
maybe 45% that were like on the fence, and then out of that 45%, like a 20% that were like, "No, I'm not getting this." And then the people that were on the fence, they eventually kind of just got pressured and were like, "Okay, we'll just get it." And then that 20%, like we would work on them, like we would try to show them the science, show them the research, be like, "Hey, this is the policy now. Like if you don't do this, like you're going to be put on LOA for an indefinite period of time and then be eventually terminated." And so like out of that 20%, probably like half of them reluctantly got it.
Okay.
And then the other 10 were like, "Nah."
They were just
Actually, no, maybe like
canned?
5% were like, "Nah."
It's
as in
probably
and then they were canned.
And then they were canned, yeah.
Like by this point now, if they're not going to get it, they're just not going to get it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been a year and a half now.
And they probably got COVID already too. Like a bunch of people who
Probably,
got
yeah. I mean,
got COVID too.
Yeah, there's that part too.
Vaccine or not, everyone got COVID. So
Yeah.
it's just it's the whole thing about will it kill you or not, I guess.
And
Right.
I will say, from those people that I know who got vaxxed, who got COVID, they did okay. Like some maybe they had some symptoms that were pretty rough for a week, and then they're okay.
Yeah.
Others also not as okay to some long-term effects, but they're functioning. And then I hear about people who got COVID who weren't vaxxed, and they're not as okay.
Yeah.
Like they're struggling. Like they're
going through it.
They have the weakness and all that. But do you guys know of anyone who wasn't vaxxed who got it and are now okay? Like I think I know some like that too.
Yeah.
Where they got it without being vaxxed, and they seem to be fine now as well. So
honestly, I can't think of anyone personally that I know.
okay.
One that I know that got it was already vaxxed, but they were like, okay.
Yeah. And I've also heard of people who were vaxxed, got it, and died. And I know of people who, I mean, I don't know actually.
But even
was it
in
related?
those cases of death, it's always so weird.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Comorbidities,
Well, okay, let's just able-bodied, middle-aged, 30s, 40s. Sure, maybe they had some sort of condition as well, but
that's the thing,
I mean,
right? Sometimes it's usually not that specifically, but that's the starting effect, and
like
then
a catalyst,
Yeah, your catalyst, and then the body, something else is what turns it off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what is a COVID death technically?
Oh well, in documentation, you can't hold it. We can't hold it like. I wish they would have categorized it and actually split it to like related. Was it actual cause, or was it the person died of other reasons but had it? Because then they're still calling that a COVID death.
COVID death, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it really was, like some old person who had like a weak heart and like lung disease and all that stuff already. So I mean, they were, maybe
lots of pneumonia.
Like that, dude.
Is that what? Really?
Lots of pneumonias.
Was it counted as one?
I don't know yet, to be honest. I know they reported it as such, but
you don't know the conclusive
funeral home had
stuff.
to fight for it, because technically, here's what would happen.
Okay.
If he died of COVID and if they did the report, that means we couldn't have an open casket. I'm like, well, it's not like he's going to spread it.
Yeah. What?
Oh,
wow.
Right.
So that's why the funeral director said, like, you guys were there. Like, I mean, was he under quarantine? All that said, no, he just ended up in that one spot that afternoon, but the rest of the time he's in another part of a hospital, not incubated, not nothing. So, so
Oh.
but they still called it in the paper. I read it, and my dad was triple vaxxed.
And
Oh,
wait,
shit.
so what? So do you mind being asked about specifics, man? Like
No,
we don't have.
no.
Okay, so I guess he started having some severe symptoms and went to the hospital. Is that what happened?
So here's what happened. I think I got sick just after New Year's, but that was about 24 hours, 36 hours, no big deal.
Okay,
Maybe I had it, but I tested negative.
you tested
But then
negative. Okay,
he started getting sick. But then what happened to him is that he had problems breathing. Was that's all it was. He had a
okay,
fever and
Oh,
he had
shit.
problems breathing. So we sent him to the hospital. Came back and they found that they didn't find anything. Right? They just said he was fine to go home. So, but they had to have a respiratory therapist set up something for his oxygen,
but they tested him for COVID too,
and then he tested negative. So
and
he
he
had
tested
COVID.
negative. Okay, okay,
No, he tested positive. Sorry, he tested positive.
okay, okay.
And so did my mom. But then the following Monday, he was still having problems breathing again. Like his blood pressure was dropping. So we sent
Okay.
him back to the hospital, and then a couple of days later, they said that they found a blood clot in his lung. That's why he was having problems breathing.
Yeah.
So they tried to thin it out and all that. But what the effect is of his age is that at a certain point, it moved somewhere. I'm sure it did, right? But then they were trying to draw blood from him.
Yeah.
But because his blood pressure was dropping, his veins were so constricted they couldn't draw blood for him. So he was already got problems. And then because of his age, his kidneys started to fail
Oh,
because he had
shit.
kidney problems, right? So that's what I think put him out because he went unconscious. What he talked to my mom, 40 minutes later, he was unconscious, and that was it. And then we had to go see him.
Wow.
So it happened really quick. So, but is that a COVID death? I don't know. You know,
So-
like I don't
so-
think it is.
So the clot in the lung you said was the start.
That's where the problem started. That's when it got serious because they found out that was causing him his problems from breathing.
But that
Shit.
was
We don't know what caused it. I don't know.
okay.
Yeah, we
I'm
don't know what
wondering,
caused
does COVID cause that? Like, does COVID? I know COVID
They said it does.
causes swelling in
They said
like.
it because blood clots.
Is it
But
blood?
then you heard that about vaccines. I don't know. Like I really don't know.
Well, I know the vaccine, certain ones caused myocarditis, which was like inflammation of the heart,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
people with heart conditions who got
Yeah.
vaxxed, some of them didn't react very well to the
Yeah, my dad had
vaccines.
like angina and all that stuff, but he was up until then, he was still limber, moving around, lucid, everything, just whatever.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
What do you
So,
think?
Yeah, man.
What do you think it was?
I don't know. I really don't know because it happened too quick, and then like it was the blood clot for sure that caused it, but where that was caused, because he gets his regular checkups. He's never had breathing problems before. He's had the typical blood pressure thing as an old guy, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But what's that other one? With the sugar one.
Diabetes?
Diabetic.
Yeah, that's it, right? So
Yeah.
he wasn't a
Yeah.
sick man.
He was, or it wasn't?
He wasn't.
He wasn't. Oh, okay.
No.
But he's diabetic.
Yeah, but that's
and high blood pressure. Probably.
yeah, and high blood pressure, and he's
The
taking all the pills.
typical old people stuff. Like,
Exactly.
like my parents. Yeah, like
Exactly. So
we fear too. If my parents get it, like
Yeah.
I don't think they have. I don't think they have.
I mean,
but
my mom got it, but she's fine now.
Oh, she's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got it. And
She
she's
have
double
high
vaxxed.
blood pressure and diabetic too.
No, not like my dad. No.
Okay. Okay.
But she's double vaxxed. So I mean, people do get it, and I think what people fail to believe, whether you got vaxxed or not, is that you can still get it. The vax just helps you fight it.
Yeah.
And I know
Yes.
I think you probably worked with a lot of people too. People have already said they've got it, so they don't want to take the vax anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
People have, just like we had a false sense of like security getting vaxxed.
Yeah.
People also got false sense of security after getting COVID.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
oh,
you see
now I'm
athletes all the
immune.
time.
It's like, no, you're
How
not.
many athletes get COVID? Athletes get COVID all the time.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah,
vaxxed.
shit, my brother just got it.
Right? And you see them always COVID protocol. You got, like the league got rampant. NHL got rampant with COVID. And they're all vaxxed. So
Anyone die in the NHL or anyone die in NBA?
No,
Yeah.
no serious things that I can recall. But these are pretty healthy athletes.
Well, yeah,
But,
they're like peak
yeah,
health,
they're
right?
no underlying health issues, unless they didn't know
Unless
about it.
they're like older and they're retiring
Yeah,
and they're like
exactly.
they're losing it, But
But
for the most part,
all the athletes are getting it all the time. But
not
they're
Rudy
thinking,
Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year,
yeah, I mean, LeBron got it. Fuck.
Braun got it too. I didn't even know that.
COVID protocol, man. Yeah, fuck, they all did, man.
They all
Yeah,
got it.
they say COVID protocol, but you know what that means. They got COVID.
So, dude, may I ask?
Yeah,
I know the grieving period hasn't been very long. Do you feel like it? Obviously, it was all of a sudden. Does it feel like it was too soon?
yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It shouldn't have happened.
There's nothing leading up to it that would even indicate that this was going to happen.
So
Wow.
so it had to have been some anomaly, which would probably be COVID.
Probably, yeah. But is that a COVID death or is it COVID related? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh.
that's the only thing I'm saying.
Well, if he was vaxxed and he still
Yeah,
functioned after vax, so we know that it wasn't the vax because he was still going.
Yeah.
But if he tested positive, and that was the next change in norm, it would seem so.
yeah,
On paper, it would seem so.
yeah.
Yeah, shit.
Which
It would,
would
right? But that's the thing, right? He was just having breathing problems. Was his problem? Like the COVID wasn't even a concern to the hospital anymore. Like
did they put
nothing.
him on oxygen or like a
They-
ventilator or anything?
Well, yeah, that's why when they cut him, because they couldn't figure out why he was having problems breathing.
Okay.
And then it was the second time in a week when they sent him back, they found the blood clot. So he wasn't sick or he wasn't like out cold like you see in some of those pictures that needed to be hooked up to the machines. None of
Yeah.
that. He was never on that. Never.
Hmm.
He was never on that. He never had any respiratory problems except for that.
But would it have helped if they did?
I have no idea.
Like,
I think the blood
Deji,
clot's
what do
very
you
young.
know in terms of that blood? If there's a blood clot in your lung, would a ventilator help?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they would mostly treat that with like blood thinners and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they would
And
try to
that
get rid
didn't
of
help.
it.
You have to treat because the oxygen helps you get your oxygen concentrations in your lung. That's not in
Yeah.
your blood,
Yeah,
right? That's
and
what it does. But the
yeah.
clot is something physical that you have to get rid of.
Oh, it was okay. Okay. Yeah. Again, man, I'm sorry. Condolences.
Yeah,
again.
bro. Sorry to hear that, man. I didn't even know that shit. That's crazy, man. When did this happen? December?
No, I just buried
is
my
it
dad.
January?
Yeah, he died on January 26th.
Holy shit, man.
Very recent.
So we're just
Bro, my
we're celebrating it the
condolences,
40
bro.
day. You know how the Filipinos do the 40-day thing? Doing that this weekend.
Yeah.
God damn, yo. Condolences, my brother.
Thanks, buddy. It's only now that but I know exactly what my dad would say, right? Just keep moving forward, man. Don't be sitting around,
Did it?
He's that kind of guy.
Does it change like your? Did it change your perspective on like the danger of COVID at all?
No,
Because you didn't really attach that as the cause.
no. I do I think that it's out there? Absolutely. Do I think that can people die from it? Yeah. I just think sometimes it's a matter of luck too, bad luck or something too. Because we did everything we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. I don't think it's the government's fault and all these mandates stuff. Nothing like that. I
Wasn't
think
the truckers? Wasn't Russia, Ukraine?
Yeah, no, it was just a little bit of luck, bad luck, and just what's been going on. So
Yeah.
Do you think opening now is a good idea?
yeah,
Okay.
I think we're 90% vaccinated, right?
Yeah, a lot of
yeah.
So what are we supposed to do?
Yeah. And apparently the mask I don't know about distancing, but the mask mandate is later this month.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be
For
lifted.
Ontario?
Sure.
Oh, I know.
think so, yeah.
Manitoba and Alberta already. I'm talking about. I think they already get rid of it.
I think they might even already have gotten rid of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then, I just haven't heard anything. Yeah, that'd be great. I probably
Yeah.
So
still wear
would you still? I feel like I would still wear it, man.
I would wear
In the
mine.
wintertime, maybe.
It depends. This is
In
a
the
perfect
winter
thing.
time?
Like if I don't
Oh,
feel like
true.
talking to people, if I'm shopping and stuff, I just put the mask on. No one would think
Well,
it's
Yeah.
weird.
I just think it's weird. I'm walking. I don't normally go out, like especially in the winter, but I know I had to go into the city, I had to park, and so from just parking to like the restaurant that I had to go to, I saw people with masks outside, and I know it's become norm for people to just wear masks all the time, but I still don't think like I need to wear a mask outside. Like as soon as I step outside, I take my mask off. Like
Okay.
unless it's super cold and it helps to keep me warm, that's the only time I keep it on.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, I don't want it on. Like I want to breathe normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not gonna change. I'm still not gonna wear a mask outdoors. But if I'm gonna shoot a wedding or a bar mitzvah or whatever event, and the mandate's lifted, I still would wear my mask. Why would I not?
Do you want the
Why-
chicks to see your face?
Well, but
Yeah.
still, I don't want to get. I'd rather not get sick. You know, I don't know these people. We went to we did a wedding preparations at a house, and the I think it was the dad. It was like, yeah, if you guys are all vaxxed, we all are too. So if you guys want to take your masks off, it's fine. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, thank you, but I kept my mask on. Like everyone's vaxxed in there, and everyone felt good. No one got it, or no one had it anytime recently. But I still wore my mask the whole day, like in the restaurant, except until I ate, which is stupid because once I sat down, and you're eating, apparently, if you're in an enclosed space for more than 15 minutes, like,
Yeah.
right, like you got it, like whatever, like it's gonna
Yeah.
be in the air, and you got it. So I know that part was dumb.
Isn't
that's
it
problem.
true though that the mask doesn't keep germs from coming? It just keeps your germs from going out.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mask doesn't. It's not a
Oh.
two-way. It's not a two-way wall.
Well, it's not 0%. It's not 100%, but it's
Exactly.
there's something that's happening in between. So it's something.
I think it's just going to be
In
habit.
the end,
for a
it's
lot of
just
people. Yeah.
peace of mind. You know what? Yeah,
It's gonna be
Like
habit.
China. Like China.
Because, dude, like, I thought about it. I just thought about it again. I think about this. I hold the camera close to my face, and like when I'm adjusting my mask, I'm using my hand. And I am touching everything. I'm holding the flowers. I'm like helping with the tie and the jacket.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
it's all like
that's
mind
why they
games,
gotta do
really.
it.
It's just
Yeah.
So what they call it is I think the term used is Swiss cheese protection model, because it's like they show a diagram of like a bunch of slices of Swiss cheese, and they all have holes in them. So it's like the hand sanitizer is a prevention method, but it's not 100% proof.
Yeah, it's the
So you have the
primary.
PPE, which is not 100% proof, but it's also layered on top of the hand sanitizer. And then you have the social distance, which is not 100% proof. So it's supposed to be like this like stack of like Swiss cheeses that individually are not perfect. All together is supposed to be like okay.
but all together it's like waterproof.
Yeah.
Droplet proof.
Basically.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm happy, guys, that it's opening up. I already see the difference in like people's like demeanor and people's like attitudes. Everyone just seems a little bit more uppity and like gung ho now. Like they're hopeful for the year, I guess. Optimistic.
This year's not
It's
lost.
summertime.
Hopefully.
Summertime, baby.
I've got a busy year ahead of me too already with like work. What a contrast from the last 2 years. I'm optimistic about that. Like clients are booking with confidence now. They're like, we want to have it. It's gonna happen this time, and like this is how many people it's gonna have. And then so they're not tentative like, oh, I don't know how many people we can have, or I don't know if things are gonna tighten up again, or our numbers gonna go up, or are they gonna have to postpone. Now people are like, this start date, this is gonna happen. Like people are thinking like that now.
Nice.
So let me ask you something. Do you think there's the possibility of another lockdown?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you did.
Like I bet you it'll spike up a little again. Like, but the thing is that's how they scared people in the past, is they just kept focusing on case numbers spiking up, and it's gonna spike up again, or it's gonna be a climb, but it's survival rate now. It's like That's really, I think, what people are playing with now, survival rate, because everyone kind of feels like they can handle it if they get it.
I guess
Yeah.
if they come up with a new variant, they'll try to, do the same thing. We'll see how we react.
Yeah.
What variant are we on again?
There was
Omicron
something
still, I
after
think.
Omicron.
Oh, was
No, I
it?
think Omicron's the last one, right?
Was it Deltacron?
That was before.
No, Delta, and then it was
Delta was-
Omicron, but apparently
Yeah.
there was a mutant of both after
Oh, really?
Omicron.
I mean, a lot of the chances, right? I guess from what I remember, a lot of the variants that we're always been very wary of came from somewhere else, not necessarily in Canada, right? So
Yes.
we'll just have to see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
To see what variant festers.
And that's the thing too, like I think we have to finally kind of get over this whole like obsession with the term vaccine, because it's not a normal vaccine. We wouldn't be needing these many boosters if it was a normal vaccine.
True.
It's like the flu vaccine, which isn't a normal vaccine either. It's not like chickenpox or measles or whatever, or hepatitis. Like those ones, you don't need booster every year.
Are you gonna did you get a booster already?
I got my third. I got my third only because I wanted to make sure, or as most as I can, because I was gonna fly. I was gonna travel February. I was like, I don't want anything to happen for me to lose out on that trip. Like
Gotcha.
in case like case numbers spiked or something, and they were like calling a mandate to get boosted. I was like, at least I'm boosted already. Like I don't have to face that. So luckily, it wasn't a case. But dude, coming back, one of the people we traveled with got COVID. So it was maybe the plane or something, because like at the end of the trip we all like, yo, peace, yo, whatever. We dapped and whatever. Like we hugged.
You guys hung around with no masks on. Let's be honest.
We had masks in the airport.
Yeah, but prior to that.
But yeah, and that's what I'm saying, right? And we ate and stuff. So and they got it. But I didn't. I at least didn't have any symptoms. I was probably asymptomatic if I got it. Or possibly he got it after he left the airport. Somehow. I don't know.
So so he tested himself when he got home.
So he had symptoms 2 days later. After we got back, he got symptoms 2 days later and then tested. And then he was positive.
Okay, I see this is the funny story, because I remember reading this thing. It's about a month ago, where some lady just happened to have a rapid test on her while she was on the plane. She tested negative before she got it, and she stupidly just said, "I'm going to test myself on the flight," and she got negative, so they had to fucking put her in the back.
Oh, she got positive, you mean?
Yeah, she got positive. I'm like, why would you test yourself on the plane?
Oh man.
So
they had to put her on the back. Like, what's
that ruined her trip, man. She's going on vacation or something like that. I'm like, why would you do it later?
Yeah.
But she had a rapid test on her, and she
should have just
did it on the
tossed
plane, and she should have just not told anybody.
Yeah, I was just like,
yeah, dude. But somebody said, so they had to. Yeah, I'm like, what a dummy.
Well, that's just poor judgment.
No,
yeah.
Holy.
That just cost you more money.
Place
to
go on
your vacation and
prices.
Crazy.
What I know someone did was, so like they went down to Caribbean, and you're supposed to test before you come back, right? And then the cost of Caribbean trips, all inclusives for the week, are pretty enticing, especially during COVID. Like, it's good deals. So then after near the end of that first week, he tests himself first before the official test. And so if he gets positive, which I think he did, he extends his trip. He won't go into the airport and make it like he has to quarantine. He just chooses to say, I'm not going to fly back, I'm going to stay longer. So he cans the return trip, and he purchases another week deal, because it's cheaper to purchase the week deal with a flight than it is to pay per night and extend your trip. And he doesn't have to test. So he's positive on his own personal test, but because he chooses to extend his trip, like, the government doesn't know that, and he's quarantining on his own, like, kind of accord and like whatever, but he's saving money. And obviously, because it would have been ugly if he did get officially tested, gets positive, then he has to quarantine, then he has to stay and not have the same kind of freedoms, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think he he ended up like extending his trip multiple times.
Oh shit.
So what's the quarantine now? It's only 5 days, right?
Asymptomatic. Apparently, provincial is 5 days. Federal is still 14. So I don't know what that means. If like
What?
federal, I think is like if you fly internationally and come in, like I think it's 14.
Oh,
But provincial, like if you get it in your own province, like Ontario, and you know, granted your symptoms, if they start to subside in 5 days, they say you're cool, you're good. And if you're asymptomatic, you're always good. Even so, like a year or two ago, if you were within range of somebody who tested positive, even though you're asymptomatic, you're still supposed to like test and like distance and all that, and like quarantine. But now, if you were within range with somebody who tests positive, but you don't have any symptoms, you're good to go. You're good to go. Yeah.
Well, it'll be obvious, right? Because like, look at the Raptor games. I'm sure someone in there's got it.
Yeah.
I mean, 18,000, someone's got it. 18,000, someone's got it. Like, no big deal. They feel great.
Statistically, it should be like do the math. Do the math.
Like
4 people in there have it. Like,
Yeah.
which means all of them have it.
Yeah.
Because it's a
stories like your friends. Stories like that is why I used to laugh at those screeners at like all. Remember at the beginning where there was just all screeners at every single like store and grocery store and everything. Ask me all those questions. Have you blah 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 blah? Have you blah blah blah? I'm like, yo, how many people are gonna say yes?
Yeah, I know.
Like everyone's gonna fucking lie to you. Like
Just the formalities.
I'm gonna take a long ass bus trip here just to tell you, yes, I am positive for COVID. You stupid.
Thank you for your honesty.
like that woman on the plane.
Yeah.
Tests herself.
I heard it on the radio. I was just like, what the fuck? You serious? Like, she was just on her way to a vacation. And that ruined it.
Okay, so I'm sure we all know somebody in our network who's anti-vax, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Were they all about, like, how can you force us to any of them healthcare? Like the truckers and all these protesters. It's true. It's a human right. Isn't it a human rights issue? Like, you can't do that.
I think it is. I think it is.
Okay, so how serious? Because I know anti-vaxxers myself, like who still haven't gotten vaxxed to this day and probably never will, because it's too risky and experimental. They don't trust the science. It's too soon. They pushed it out. I get it. Yes, it makes sense. I agree, but then they got put through this whole ordeal for a certain amount of time where they were being forced to, in order for them to take part in society, for them to go out to eat, for them to work and maybe lose their jobs. So it became to them a human rights issue. Now, if you were to put yourselves in their shoes, how hard do you think you would have fought it? Or would you have just like stayed like a hermit in your house and be like, oh, I guess I'm stuck at home forever?
I don't think I would have thought it that long.
Yeah, like
it was 2 years.
He hit us. He was probably contemplating it for so long, and then finally said, "Well, I want my job." Right? Where some people, I know my one friend who was a PSW, she lost her job. I know a nurse lost her job.
Yeah.
And so did they sign petitions? Did they like protest? Did they like go out?
Yeah, they were. I saw them, and remember, I think they kicked the can down the road. Remember, it was like October originally. Then there was like November, and then December, and then I think they finally canned people in January, right? Like I remember they were kicking that can down the road for some places.
Right.
Yeah.
But my friend,
it was like imminent.
Yeah, she was fired, so she's sticking to her guns. So, I mean, she doesn't have a job, so and she had a good job. So.
And can she not find? She probably can't find a job either.
Not yet, because I don't think she worked for the hospital, so that was
Okay, yeah.
And she won't be able to find that type of profession. She can't work in healthcare, at least momentarily or right now.
until they remove
And
that.
they keep that mandate going for how, I don't even know. There's a mandate forever. What's the deal here?
Can you
Yeah, I
can
don't
you
know. It's
actually hold
indefinite
on to
right now.
that for indefinite?
There's a mandate. Does it have an expiry date? Like, how does this work?
Nope.
I don't think it does.
They had a deadline.
It's almost like it's like law. It's like,
So going forward, that's it. Like, you cannot work here unless you're vaccinated. So that's
I guess
crazy.
right now that would be
like
it, yeah.
unions. Did unions even fight this? Probably not, because unions were probably pro-vax too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I bet you I wouldn't be surprised of the lawsuits that are going to come out of this later. Huge ones, some big ones.
You know what it was? It's because like the majority of people that got hit in the first wave were like elderly people in like homes and shit.
Yeah.
Like they got wiped out. So
Yeah.
like with the healthcare system, like they don't fuck around, man.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like it's not even the old people. It's like all the families of the old people too that are like, why did you protect my mom? Like, because in our care community, it's like you have sons and daughters. Like, yo, when is my mom getting the third dose? When is she getting the booster? Like, we want that as soon as possible. You know.
Oh.
So like their mentality is a little bit different because they've seen their moms and dad's roommates like die and shit. So they're like, yo.
Yeah.
It's
It's hard to say for sure. Like, I mean, going into this year now, like I'm not so quick to get the booster. I don't need it. I mean, I'm not. I don't need it to not go anywhere type thing.
Yeah. If
So,
if it's not a requirement, why would you?
Yeah.
Do it, right.
Yeah.
I don't feel I have to, but if they say I need it on campus, then I guess I will have to, even though I disagree with it. But hey,
I guess I did it preemptively, but I probably didn't need it. And it was also the one that like hit me the hardest. Like the first two didn't hit me.
The booster.
That third one, I was tired, man, for like a day. But I mean, I'm in relatively really good shape. So like, but I was I know I felt it. Like that one definitely hit me harder than the other two.
Yeah, a lot of people that got the booster too, they mostly like call them sick and shit.
What's the difference between the booster and the vaccine? Is the booster like
added?
You think your body would like? Well, yeah, you would think like your body was building some sort of like affinity to it. Like, oh look, we've injected you twice now with this foreign thing that's causing your body to create antibodies. So why would a third one hurt?
Yeah, and it's because I guess they say like the protection only lasts a certain while, right?
That's true. Yes. Apparently, it only lasts 90 days. Pfizer.
Yeah.
I did I did all three Pfizer. Yeah.
You would be required to get a booster every time a booster came out. Then.
Basically,
for my job
like
or Deji?
No, his job, right? Because they could come up with a, you need another booster. I don't know, this year sometime.
Yeah.
I saw a
because
commercial.
we started giving residents the fourth dose. So.
Oh.
Yeah, bunch of people in our care community have fourth dose already. Just residents, though, not staff. Yeah.
Well, I hear that they're promoting it now. A message from the government of Ontario. Like it's like the vaccinations over time will lose its efficacy. So you make sure you go in there and get your booster. It's like, it's in media now.
Yeah.
I'm in the rush, man. Like I did what was required, and that's it.
Yeah. But if they make it a requirement, you wouldn't hesitate, would you?
It depends.
It depends. Oh, okay.
It depends, right? It depends. Let's say I get hired by a firm or something like that only required my original too.
Then
I don't know. Other companies or other places might not necessarily, have these certain mandates, right?
Yeah.
So you never know.
What if numbers spike? And then they're like, okay, we're not gonna close down like before, but if you get a booster, you can continue not needing your QR code. No, wait, then you just lie.
Like then how would they know I got the booster?
You would still need you'd need the QR code. So they'll be like, if you have it, a booster, and maybe they'll implement QR codes again. So they'll be like, so if you get a booster, you can like, I don't know, not wear your mask. But then they'll
see,
like
it's hard to say,
redeploy
right?
they'll redeploy masks again or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, when is
Uh,
St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah,
That's not till October, isn't it?
St.
No.
Patrick's Day, isn't that March? That's like the
Oh,
yeah,
17th
it's
or
somewhere.
something.
It's this month, right?
I'm thinking
So
something else.
here's my guess.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day will kind of be that point because if it's a nice day like it usually is on St. Patrick's Day,
March 17th.
there we go. If they shut it down, then we're in trouble because I know everyone's going to be out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out.
Dude,
Fuck it.
there's
shit.
like concerts and festivals already.
Yeah,
Like
I'm going to go out. I haven't been
they're-
out in so long. I'm going to fucking go. I'm going to start drinking 11. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yo, I should
Only
actually
a-
book those days off.
Only 11.
Yeah.
Actually.
Because I haven't been out in so long, and I haven't done a St. Patrick's Day in years. But hell, if it's a go, I'm going out. And
Yeah.
if that's enough to scare the government to say, "Oh, that might be spreading," then we know that they're fucking with us.
Shit, I got a plan for
Because
that.
you know how many people are going to be out on the streets on St. Patrick's Day? Fuck.
Oh man,
Oh,
yeah, I got a plan for that.
Mike,
Right?
it's-
Legally, they're supposed to. You could drink beer. Like everyone will be there. I think some places are even open at like 10 o'clock and shit like that. 9 o'clock on like some places.
What,
Like,
day,
there's
what day is that?
Yeah. Does it fall on a weekend? If it is, we're in trouble.
Oh, it's because
Is
my
that-
birthday is on the 19th, and that's a Saturday, so it's a Thursday.
Ah,
Like
yeah.
podcast day.
Does that fix it, Mike? Let me know. I don't know if this makes a difference. Mike's
Yo, we
Mike's,
should like
Mike's watching.
go out, FJ.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
yeah.
everyone
Me
will be
me
out.
uh,
This is only the first holiday, right?
Krista said what's that place again? What was that
Birkin?
place? No, that place.
Oh,
Nomads.
Nomad. I'm down.
Tom and Deji on both. Yeah, it's my mic. I don't know what I did. I changed something and I don't know what I did. I actually don't know how to.
How far does the weather go? The weather network. Let me see what the weather's going to be like.
You know what? I'll just do this. Source channel 1 and 2. Stereo mono channel. Alright, we'll do this for now. We'll just do that. That way I'm on both ears. Does that fix it, Mike? Yeah. Does that work? You hear me on both now, right?
Yeah.
Both sides? Were you guys only hearing me on one as well? Yeah, okay. Anyway. Alright guys, let's move on to the next topic. I'm gonna pop up this video. We don't have to watch it because it's long.
Content.
So, this is a half-hour video. So we watched that, like, what Putin wants with Ukraine, right? And this was a video that came out after. It's half an hour. It's really good. I'm gonna link it in the description, guys. It's why Russia is invading Ukraine. They go into more about like the territories, like the borders of like what they need to defend if Ukraine is actually taken by the West versus Moscow's strength if Ukraine is actually taken by Russia, things like that. So that, you know.
So you heard about Belarus then?
Yeah, well, Belarus is like a second Russia. It's part of Russia.
Yes, I just found out that they've implemented so they do have an ally.
Oh yeah, it's like they're like the same.
Yeah.
But I wanted to actually show you guys, and maybe we can watch some of this together, because this is a proponent of the other side. Yes, most of the reports I've seen, mainstream media, as well as this video, which attempts to be neutral. I think this guy attempts to be neutral. It's huge. 11 million views from February 26th, 399,000 likes. Like, good job on this guy. But most of it still somewhat has this favoring side to the West. Like, yes, we understand the States was like doing some corrupt stuff, trying to think of like bottom line was like, how can they make money? Yes, we get the US is after that, but underlying we still like, we're like, well, Putin's messed up. Why no one should start war? And I think that's understand. But I'm more and more hearing when people are researching and watching videos and like talking about it with other people, more and more people are saying, I understand why Putin is doing it. I'm not pro-war, but I understand why Putin is doing it. And I don't. I still don't. Like, it's like play chess. Still play chess. If all the other countries are trying to work on this like gas pipeline to maximize profits, or trying to work on militarizing certain areas of a country so that, again, maybe for the bottom line, profit for NATO or whatever it is, even military defensive strength by territorial borders and, like, you know, peninsulas and stuff like that. Sure, play chess to get that. But Putin's flipping the chessboard. Like, that's not playing chess. I think once you start introducing bombing and stuff of a country to another country and killing innocent people,
Yeah.
that's different. Now, people can come to me and like counter that very easily, because that's what was happening between Ukraine, like Kiev west, versus the Donbass on the east, right? Donetsk and, like, what were those two places? There was war already happening, civil war. So I don't know. That's civil war, I guess, because it feels like it's internal and within that own country. It's like, it's not the same as a world war, an international war. But then again, we also kind of like brushed it off our shoulder when US was in Iraq. You know, we didn't really pay too much attention when, you know, the US just goes in and like
Fuck shit up.
Yeah, well, yeah, like
they cried,
meddles with.
They cried. Everyone cried for them to help them.
Yeah. Okay. Is that true, or are you sure they didn't like lobby for them to help so that they can the oil, and as well as like warfare?
They have
like
a history of helping.
War is profitable for them too.
They have a history of helping, you know, all these oil-rich countries, and they have treaties with some of these countries, and they did that too, right? So they're protecting all the other countries, like the other ones they protect, the smaller oil-rich countries. There, they protect them too.
Okay, I'm gonna click this link, and guys, we can listen to some of it. Maybe you guys will want to stop it before it gets too. But I'm gonna say this has
you watch this guy?
I don't watch this guy. This is
Dore.
This was linked.
These guys, the Young Turks, man, they hate this fucking guy.
The Young Turks.
I hate the Young Turks.
So this gives me Alex Jones vibes, but
Alex Jones is a nutcase.
The way this I don't want to bias it yet. Maybe you guys will have a similar reaction to how I reacted to this. And I understand how someone listening to this without knowing the other West propaganda side might adopt this and be like, oh yeah, Putin makes sense. Like, yeah. But in my head, everything that this guy says, I kind of had a rebuttal to. But anyway.
We want to just bring you up to date and kind of tell you what's going on with the Ukraine situation. And before we get into the part of...
You don't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
Hold on.
Is something wrong?
Let me fix that. No. It's just because I didn't share the app itself. Here we go. All right, here we go.
We want to just bring you up to date and kind of tell you what's going on with the Ukraine situation. And
You don't hear it?
Nope.
Do you hear it, Deji?
Play it. It's like frozen.
You might need to unmute my stream, Tom. Like right click the stream on the on Discord, and I'm probably muted.
Oh, okay.
Is that unmuted?
Let me see.
Here.
We want to just bring you up to date and kind of
tell
you what's going on with the Ukraine situation. And before we get into the part I want to show you today that's new.
Nope.
What? Hold on.
I just always...
My stream is hearing it. Why aren't you guys hearing it? Let's stop it again. So we're going to go application. Okay. How about this?
I want to remind people there's a lot of reasons why this is happening in Ukraine.
Okay.
And it's not an act of naked aggression of, well, I don't know. Maybe it is naked. I don't know what even that means, naked. Or they're wearing clothes when they're doing this.
I'll keep it playing.
So Nord Stream pipeline snarled in the U.S.-Russia fossil energy war. So there's a big pipeline that goes from Russia to Germany that was supposed to start up, get the liquid gas flowing, and they're providing a lot. So that's got more to do with this than anybody's letting on. So the United States doesn't want that pipeline happening. And so one of the conditions to get that pipeline to shut down was if Russia attacked Ukraine, Germany agreed that they would shut it down. So it looks like the Biden administration has done everything they could to get Putin to actually go into Ukraine. And what's another? So that's one reason. We're going to talk more about it later. Another reason is the NATO expansion, and people try to dismiss it, but it's real. And so this is from Salon. NATO leaves little room for diplomacy. How the war machine upped the ante in Ukraine. So, and why did the war machine want Ukraine to be a part of NATO? Because when you join NATO, you have to have a certain amount of military gear for your country. And so who sells it? The West. So that's why they wanted to get as many countries into NATO as they could after the Soviet Union fell, not because it would defend us from the Soviet Union, but because it would be a weapons sales for American military industrial complex. Also, in 2014, here's the third thing that led to this crisis. In 2014, the United States backed a coup of the democratically elected government in Ukraine because they were afraid that the Ukraine was too close with Russia, and they wanted Ukraine to come join the Europe and their economic system. And so we helped engineer a coup to overthrow that democratically elected government, and we got in bed with neo-Nazis to do it. So a big...
Okay. Stop it there first. Do you guys remember last week's video on like what he's talking about?
Oh,
So-
that Putin wants to get rid of the neo-Nazis in Ukraine?
Well, like for we watched this video last week explaining like the history of Ukraine and like its relationship with Russia. And what he's talking about here, 2014, the a coup, right? He's saying that the West, the United States, helped Ukraine pursue a coup and take down the government because the at the time the prime minister of Ukraine
It's a patsy.
was
Russia.
was corrupt, like, and he was given a choice whether or not to get financial aid from the EU or from Moscow, and he took, I think it was like, I don't know, $15 billion or something, maybe more, $1 trillion, I don't know.
Damn.
He took it from Moscow, and the people, apparently, this is how, again, I'm not speaking this as fact, but based on the video we watched, it was reported by, I think, this Indian lady. It was called Gravitas, and it felt very like an informative kind of video. She said that, yeah, the population in Ukraine, Kiev, Western, did not like this guy, did not like this prime minister because he was too close with Moscow, and he felt like he was, yeah. So, but this guy right now in the video is saying the U.S. helped implement the coup, but helped. I mean, I don't know what that really means. Like, we don't have actual like specifics as to how they helped, but according to the other report, the population was already very vocal about not liking this guy. Like, they didn't want this guy to be the leader, and he was forced to step down. The guy ended up, yeah, he was forced to step down, and he fled to Russia.
Did they poison this guy?
I don't know if they poisoned him, but a coup is just taking over the government, like the public or the people taking over the government, right? Like
It's the military.
or military. Okay,
When the military says "fuck you," we're taking over.
okay, sorry, that military. Okay, yeah, okay. So anyway, let's keep it going. So he's making it like, yeah, see, it was the states that did it. Anyway, but there's always a response based on like the information.
Big part of the support for the current Ukraine government is neo-Nazis, and that's not...
What is that?
I'll show you that for real. It's not a little thing. It's not small. It's a big deal. And so we tried to turn Ukraine into a vassal state, as you pointed out here, for the U.S. project of turning Ukraine into a vassal state while pretending to care about its sovereignty. You couldn't have picked a worse face than the guy who helped organize the coup of 2014 and then got his son a lucrative gas company board seat in the immediate aftermath. So that's what we're talking. So this is the stuff they're never telling you.
See, he's making it like they're keeping it hush. Like, we're trying to keep information from you guys. Granted, all his sources are tweets, so I don't know. Aren't these tweets?
Isn't everybody's sources tweets?
Anyway, I guess because it's, once you put it in Twitter, it is like formally documented and it can be accessed and referenced. So I
Yeah.
I guess it's a credible source now. But anyway, I
People
don't know who
go back
this.
and use your tweets against you. So yeah.
Do we know who Aaron Mate is? Anybody know? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, so he's saying this is stuff you'll never know or learn about. Well, no, because yeah, you're right. Mainstream media will likely not report in this angle. You know, you're not gonna get CNN that's gonna report and make USA the bad guy. Obviously not. Anyway,
Even on YouTube, they don't ever hardly bring this stuff up when they cover the Ukraine crisis. So
Why
that's
not?
really important. So this is where the crisis is. So there's the Ukraine, and there's the two separatist areas, Donetsk and Luhansk, and this is called the Donbass. And what's been going on since 2014, they wanted to separate from the Ukraine after the coup. They're like, we don't want to be ruled by people who overthrew our government. And
Yep.
so they started fighting. So the Ukraine forces are fighting the separatist forces in Donbass, and they were supposed to stop shelling them and killing them. Who was supposed to? The Ukraine. There was a ceasefire.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
called the Minsk agreements to get,
Yep.
and part of the agreement was there would be a ceasefire. Ukraine would stop shelling that area and killing those people. They would have a military withdrawal, and then they would have elections in this area. They would have elections here, and these people would be giving more autonomy. None of that happened.
Yeah.
None of that happened. So they're not abiding. So this didn't just come out of nowhere.
this guy's so mad. So
Mm-hmm.
again, based on the video from last week, what was claimed in that video was Moscow or Russia or Putin placed Russian rebels in Luhansk and Donetsk to start the separatist movement. So they're Russian. They were placed there to start it. I mean, what his reporting is, and I don't doubt he's just reporting what he found and what he's told. But here's saying these are people part of Ukraine who didn't want to be run by the coup, who didn't be run by people, because we already know that the west side of Ukraine is pro-Russia. They'll push this too. The 1/3 of everyone in the West speak Russian.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
yeah, but dude, it's not 2/3. it's not even it's not the majority. It's a third. A third of the people who live there, less than the majority of the people who live there, speak Russian. So why is that an argument? Why is that a point to make? They're very specific on the 1/3 too. I'm like, yeah, that's not even majority. You're saying if you worded it like this, 2/3 or the majority of the West speak Ukrainian. That sounds very different from 1/3 of the West speak Russian. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah.
There's a pipeline involved. There's the expansion of NATO involved, and there's the Minsk agreements and Ukraine shelling and killing these people.
Did he already go over the pipeline? Did he already
so.
explain?
A mixed agreement, and the pipeline is what I just mentioned.
So yeah, in that other video, this one, this guy, really good video on how he talks about the natural resources in Crimea, and anyway, so between Russia and Germany, there was a pipeline from Russia that goes through Ukraine and provides the majority of gas for Europe. And when Ukraine became independent from the Soviet Union, they started charging Russia for that. They started charging tariffs for using the pipeline through Ukraine. As they should, you would think, right? So Russia's like, yeah, man, we don't want to pay that. So over the next decade after 2014, they started building around Ukraine to avoid Ukraine entirely. And they still want this pipeline to go straight to Germany. Germany was, I think someone said it too. Yeah, Germany's got no power right now because of the war. They've cut all connections with Russia, financially and all that. So Russia cut resources. Russia cut the pipeline. So we're not gonna share our oil or whatever.
During World War II, were Germany and Russia on the axis of evil?
They were allies. And World War II.
But you know how the thing is split. You know how the allies and the axis, they call it the allies and the axis of evil or whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
But they were allies, right?
Mhm.
Oh, you never heard that term before?
No.
For
Oh
which one?
shit.
World War
So
II.
like during World War II, right? Like the
Yeah,
U.S.
there was
and
the
like
Central
Britain were
Superpowers and the Axis of Evil.
yeah, exactly.
What's Axis of Evil?
Japan, Germany, and Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And
Yeah,
Russia, right?
sorry. I said Germany, Russia were allies. No,
No, Russia was with us.
Germany was the bad. Germany and Japan were bad. Yeah, sorry. So Germany was bad.
And we.
Russia was part of the allies, as in like the good guys.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm thinking of the Cold War. Never mind.
Cold War. Oh, okay. Well, after the World War II, when the Cold
Yeah,
War, yeah, that was Russia versus U.S. Like it was like
Okay.
an arms race for like
So Russia and Germany never really fucked with each other.
Russia, Germany. Not after World War II. No, Germany basically apologized and keep apologizing for what the Nazis did.
I think
They're good. They're being good
it's
about
not
it.
written in stone or anything like that, but the fact that it was where the war kind of ended, Russia probably felt that hey, since we start the war, we should take over Germany too. Back
Yeah.
in that, right? I mean,
Dude, they ended it. They ended World War II,
the tanks all froze. They fucked up, man.
and that's why that wall in Berlin was there, because I think Russia felt like they should own up
Appropriate it.
until like it's like
Yeah.
that's ours now. Like that's what we took.
They stopped the war.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
should own that land.
But Germany wanted it back and whatever, and then I guess like, busting down the Berlin Wall, and now Russia's retreated back, and now that was still Soviet Union for a long time, and then after Soviet Union, I didn't know this too. In the other video, it says, but when it was the Soviet Union, the power of the Soviet Union had was massive.
It's immense. Yeah.
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 But once they
They were
split, I didn't know how much weaker Russia became. Like it was still in our minds, like, wow, Russia, a superpower, and they will always be a superpower. But we cut off like maybe more than half of like their resources and their military when the Soviet Union collapsed. I didn't know that. Yeah, Russia's still huge in terms of landmass, but like their population,
Yeah,
like
the Ukraine army was huge.
Ukraine, yeah, I had no idea until I did more of this recent research. But anyway,
and nobody ever brings this up. So finally, after 8 years
you're bringing it up.
of them trying to negotiate, they wouldn't stop shelling them. So then Vladimir Putin stepped in under all of that happening. Okay, under all of that happening, and just to remind everybody, 1 in 6 Ukrainians is an actual ethnic Russian, and 1 in 3 speaks Russian as their native language.
That's wrong. 1 in 3 speaks Russian. That's only in the West. 1 in 6 Ukrainians is an ethnic Russian. Yes, that's correct. But this part is wrong. It's not 1 in 3. It's only on the West side. Just so you know.
1 in 6 Ukrainians is an
Okay,
ethnic
when they do
Russian,
that.
That I believe.
and 1 in 3 speak Russian as a native language.
Yeah.
1 in 3 speak Russian.
1 in 3 speak Russian only in the West, in the Donbass. Not all of Ukraine. So that second part of that fact is only applicable to the West, but the first half, the 1 in 6 Ukrainians, yeah, I'll believe it. But and again, that's 1 in 6. It's like still not majority. It's not even a quarter. In my head, it's like, would you say a quarter of Canadians are Asian?
No.
1 in 6, maybe.
Actually,
1 in 10.
Yeah, because there's even when you look on because there's actual data for this stuff, and even when you look on that, it's usually still very you know. But I don't know. I haven't looked at that shit in a while.
Well, the
Minorities
majority,
as a whole, maybe.
the majority of Canadians. Okay. How about this? Do you think more than 1 in 6 Canadians are immigrants?
No.
No?
Yeah.
You think less than 1 in 6 Canadians are immigrants?
Yeah, I'm willing to take that bet.
At this rate now, yeah, we get how many people coming all the time?
Let's look it up. What is the fraction of Canadians Or what fraction of Canadians are immigrants?
Based on what year though? Like
I don't know.
On today's
Immigration
today.
Canada. Currently, annual immigration in Canada amounts to
didn't I say
around...
20%? I was saying 20%.
Yeah. As of 2020, there were just above 8 million immigrants with permanent residence living in Canada, roughly 21.5% of the total Canadian population.
So what's
over
back
over
when the beginning
one
of time?
this was 2020, over 1/5 of Canadians are immigrants.
okay.
Okay? I mean, they're not
I don't know how to understand that stat though.
this.
Only because you're dividing what number against what number.
Oh, it's the number of immigrants divided by the total population.
Oh. So
Yeah.
37 million, but of that 37 million, some of them are from immigrant parents. Like there's third generation flips in this town. There's third generation Italians, you know. So are their
I
kids
think
Canadian or
immigrants just means if you're not born in this country, right? Isn't it?
yeah, but that's what I'm trying to figure out because when Canada was Canada with
Yeah.
just the British colonies, was there how many million people?
Oh, I don't know.
Right? And now we're at 37 million. So wouldn't we be majority fucking
Immigrants?
immigrants by now?
Yeah, but I think yeah, that's true.
Right?
Well,
that's what I'm trying to find. What's the
no,
visible
because
number?
a lot of those people died. But then
Yeah.
more people were born here, like over the years.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are born here, I guess. So
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to figure out what the divisible number is because like fuck some of these
it's
cultures
I think
might
it's
have six some
I
of these
think
cultures have 6 kids.
I think it's currently living population. So currently living population who
Okay.
are immigrants
That makes more sense to me.
versus currently living population in
So
total.
we're not immigrants, but our parents are. Okay, gotcha.
Oh well, I'm an immigrant.
You're
I
an
wasn't
immigrant.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
born
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
You're a fob.
Yeah. I'm a proud immigrant too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Saying 1 in 6 Ukrainians is an ethnic Russian doesn't impress me. I don't know. Should it impress me? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they were part of Russia for.
I guess it's like for them it's like that is not a stat you can ignore. You know?
Yeah, but at the same
Which is
time,
fair.
if at one point they were all Soviet Union, which means technically it was all part of like the same body of the country, and now since after the Soviet Union collapsed, 5 in 6 Ukrainians aren't ethnic Russian. That weighs it on the other side. Like you look at that and you're like, yeah, look how independent they've become since the collapse.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
look how much they've maintained in terms of their roots.
that's true.
It's the opposite side. It's like look how much they've gained independence from Russia. And that's how I look at it anyway.
No, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
Everything is like propaganda, right?
And so that leads me to
Yeah, the
anything
way
you'd
you
like
word
to
it
number here
makes-
with Aaron Mate. Aaron, is there anything you'd like to add to that before I get to this video
Oh,
today?
that's the guy who tweeted.
Great summary.
Just
I'll
realized.
just add that the obvious then solution for Ukraine's deep internal division throughout all of this has been apparent from the start. Instead of forcing
See, this is
Ukraine
cool, man.
to
This guy will
choose
fuck
one
people.
identity, because it has two
Looks
very
what?
distinct identities. One of it is pro-Western, pro-US, wants to be
Yeah.
tight with the EU.
Yeah.
The other one is pro-Russian, to the point where, as you say, there's so many people who speak Russian. So the obvious answer when you have such a divided country is to keep it neutral.
many.
Don't force it to choose one side or the other, because that
So
will
many.
lead to conflict.
1/3 of
And for the
1/10.
last 8 years, starting with the coup in 2014, the U.S. has been leading the way to try to force.
Okay. It's midnight, so I don't want to hold you much longer, Deji. So I'm just gonna say, you've heard their points, right? The pipeline, NATO, and
The Russian populace.
yeah, and just like Russian roots. So like yeah.
So what do you know about the pipeline?
Okay, so the U.S. does not want Russia to build this pipeline.
I think it's
They-
already built.
I think no, that's what I mean. That so he'll say that the U.S. does not want this pipeline to run
Yeah, because it'll put
Because-
the power in Russia's hands.
because
for the
all
gas.
that money, well, Europe will then be buying all this gas from Russia, and which will empower Russia, and the U.S. doesn't want Russia to do that. So in order for what they dangled instead was NATO. Ukraine joined NATO. Ukraine still hasn't joined NATO. the prime minister, or the whatever his title is, prime minister of
Russia
Ukraine.
won't let them.
Russia won't let them, but at the same time, when he's like, we have no plans of joining NATO anytime soon. The prime minister of Ukraine said that. Russia wants him to say they will never join NATO.
Yeah.
But he refuses to say that. He will refuse to say it. Like, which is whatever. He's just refusing to say it. But he says we have no plans on joining NATO anytime soon. And we want to maintain a healthy relationship with Russia. That's what Ukraine said. Putin's not cool with that because it still gives them the threat that they would join NATO. So what the propaganda apparently positioned NATO to be is this defensive union association to prevent Russia from taking military power over more of Europe. But what he says, this guy, is it's not about just defending Ukraine from an invasion. It's because if you join NATO, you have to maintain a minimum requirement of weaponry in your army, in your military department. So therefore, Ukraine would have to buy a bunch of weapons from the West, the US, which
So
is
there's a standard requirement.
yes, there's a minimum.
I'm
There's
kind of racist.
so well, yeah,
Economical standard.
yeah, and economic. Well, yeah, like military
Yeah.
power, right? So, but
That's right.
but like when you think about it, why wouldn't they do that? Like, why wouldn't any association demand you to have that if you're a military of like union? And two, of course you're gonna want to make money out of it. Of course, like in my head, like it's obvious. Why is this corrupt? It's not. He makes it sound like it's evil and corrupt. Like there's this underlying reason why they want Ukraine to join NATO. It's because of profit, and he wants it to make it sound like, and that's wrong. But I'm like, but that makes sense to me. Like,
I gotta watch this video for sure.
This guy,
Yeah,
this one or
Jimmy
the other
Dore.
one? Yeah. Anyway,
Dore,
so I'm just saying, like, yes, he makes it sound like they'll never tell you this, like you'll never hear this in mainstream media, and yeah, it's because the U.S. want to prevent Russia from gaining economic power. They want to prevent Russia from gaining territorial
Is he
power.
kind of right though?
He's 100% right, but does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean Putin still has a right to attack Ukraine, with military warfare? I don't think so.
I don't think he should, but between the confines and the lines of every piece of legislation and NATO agreement, there's no rule that says he can't.
No, you're right. But I feel like there would have been a better scenario. Okay, here's how I think him attacking Ukraine was a big mistake. Unless he wins, unless he takes it. Okay? Which it doesn't look like it's happening so far. I don't know.
I think what's happening today is I think it's going to turn for the
Is
worse.
big. The nuclear plant, right? Okay, so I did
because they're just trying to get into the country before they fortify.
Yeah. So apparently, Deji, I don't know if you know, but just in the last, I don't know, few hours, they've been bombing the largest nuclear plant. Yeah,
6 hours ago, yeah, they're
in
attacking now the plants.
Yeah. So
Wow.
okay, but before that, from what I understood, all the nations in NATO were sending weapons to Ukraine. They were giving it to them, right? Right? Donating.
They're not breaking the rules by sending them weapons.
Exactly. So they still they're using their own manpower, their own military, but they're using other people's weapons and bombs and all this stuff, and they were holding it down. So if Russia doesn't win, I mean, I don't know if Russia will win. I don't know who I'm rooting for. I obviously I'm rooting for Ukraine to defend. I don't want Russia to take over Ukraine, but I just don't want people to die. Anyway.
Yeah.
So like, if Russia loses, it's really bad for them. Like it's worse. Like it's far worse.
Oh yeah, they got
Okay.
more to lose now.
Now, if they win, I don't necessarily think they're just gonna be like, all right, guys, we took Ukraine. Now we can have our pipeline, and now you guys have to buy the gas from us. I don't think it's gonna be like that, like instantly, where they're just gonna make money
I think
by having Ukraine. Like,
I think what's going to happen, and I think this is funny because they were just talking about how they want to make Georgia now part of the EU because they
What
think
is-
they could be next too.
where's Georgia?
One of the former states too. Right? Yeah,
Oh,
Georgia.
one of the former Soviet Union
Yeah.
states.
And there's already an emergency thing saying like we got to get these guys in the EU.
Okay, they're trying to push that ahead. Oh, look
Yeah.
at where they are.
See, Georgia's just right there below.
Yeah,
And
that
see,
makes
that-
sense because Crimea's right here.
Yeah. See why they want Georgia? Right there. They got a port there.
Yeah. Well, this one is like
That's
Oh,
a big
yeah.
one.
like Crimea. But what the other video shows, man? This one, the one by RealLifeLore, why Russia is invading Ukraine. Apparently, there's like a multi-trillion-dollar oil deposit in the shores of Crimea.
There you go. See, at the end of the day, it's always something, eh?
And by surrendering Crimea to Russia,
They got that reserve.
Ukraine was like, "Damn it,
We
Like,
just lost our economy.
we just lost all
We just
this
lost
like
the
all these oil
economy.
reserves." So what they did apparently, so Ukraine doesn't have a lot of fresh water. So sorry, not Ukraine. Crimea doesn't have any like fresh water sources. The only
Is
source
that not oh, that's a sea.
it's
Yeah,
a sea.
okay, yeah.
So this is all
Sea.
salt water around them.
Salt water, yeah.
So what during the Soviet Union, Ukraine actually built like this waterway that funneled fresh water to Crimea. And once they became independent, they put a dam in it. They stopped it. They stopped providing fresh water to Crimea because Crimea was given back to Russia. So Ukraine was like, well, screw that. Like, why do we want to send our fresh water over there? So it was actually costing Russia a lot to provide fresh water to Crimea. And actually, in the last, I think they said 2020 was the driest Crimea has ever been in history. Like it's losing water. So yeah. There's all these little like pokes and like poking Putin to like, all right, man, we can't just allow Ukraine to tariff us now on our pipeline, cut our fresh water sources to Crimea. Now they want to take back Donetsk and Luhansk, when clearly 1/3 of the population speak Russian and they want it for the West or whatever. But sorry, East. So anyway. Yes, all these poking the bear. Putin's like, screw it, let's take Ukraine. Let's just take Ukraine by force.
They're making everybody, yeah.
I still
by
don't
doing
think that was
they
the
want
answer.
Everybody, like there's no more secret. So it's either you're going to stop me or not. See,
If you
straight to
think,
the point.
what if he went into, rather than like trying to convince Ukraine to like, hey, don't be buddy with NATO, don't be buddy with the West. What if they like just like almost like did a partnership with them like Belarus? Like they're like, all right, man, why don't you just keep Donetsk and Luhansk? We'll pull our Russians out and we'll pull their.
Maybe that would have been the case if they kept that other guy before.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, before the
Zelensky
coup, right?
wasn't there, then
Yeah.
maybe, but Putin hates Zelensky because Zelensky hates Putin.
Oh,
He doesn't have a little patsy over there. The
Yeah.
other guy before him was a Putin sympathizer. It was kind of pro-Russia.
oh, the other
So
guy,
they took him out.
the corrupt,
that's
the
why.
corrupt
And then
guy
things
who
changed.
took. Okay, yeah. So,
And then Zelensky made it no secret, we are not helping Russia.
but imagine like they instead of Russia providing military support for Donetsk and Luhansk against Ukraine, if they like pulled their guys out, signed this like peace treaty with them, do like this whole like maybe they do a Ukraine-Russia free trade agreement, and then all of a sudden the pipeline isn't being tariffed. Then they can get fresh water to Crimea. They both have access to this $1 trillion deposits of oil. You know what I mean? Like, play chess. Play chess, man. Like, don't,
Yeah.
This is my head. This is where my head
Here's
was
the
going.
thing. Basically, this is something we talked about last week. This is something we haven't seen since World War II. So there's no more surprises with Putin. Like the only surprise he'll have is he says, "Okay, I'm going home."
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right.
Well, he can't
so
now.
He's gonna go. Yeah, he's gonna go all out. Like, there's no way unless
Well, could he lose?
He loses. That's a small chance of that. If I was gambling, I'm not gonna bet on that.
But if he
Two.
loses, he loses a huge part of his military. Like,
Oh, big time.
he's lost so much already. Like,
Yeah, they said right now maybe 7,500.
like
Yeah.
that's a lot.
I mean,
anyway,
yeah. But see,
I'm
here's
laughing,
the thing.
but it's a nervous laughter. But
I know the Ukraine is like holding their own, but who's to say this isn't just their first way of testing what they've got?
yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean,
You know,
like
they
I
haven't even
said,
brought in the
if it
planes
comes
yet.
down to a nuke,
They haven't even attacked with the ships, the airplanes yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no. What do you mean airplanes? They're doing missiles. Like they're doing
No, like
planes
they're
with
launching-
missiles.
Are they launching them from actual missile planes?
Well, I saw
I haven't heard
a
any
live
footage of that.
I saw a
Is that
live story of a jet flying over with a missile coming out of it.
Oh,
So
I thought. See,
Yeah.
a lot of the. I'm surprised there hasn't been a lot of aerial combat, but I guess Ukraine
That's
don't
true.
have no plane.
that's true. I don't think Ukraine has an air force.
Oh,
Or
I
like-
think they might have hit them first. Remember they said they hit airfields and defense bases first before they came in?
Well, they occupied this empty airfield. I don't know if it was an active airfield.
Because technically, yeah, what you usually do is you take out communications in the air first, and I know they hit the airfields before they started rolling in.
But they're all using like satellite Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I mean,
yeah.
but if you hit a military one, right? Nobody has access to that,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
you got, so it'll be interesting. And I was just reading the reports or watching, like I think it's going to be turned up a notch now.
I'm
Because you know
scared.
what?
I'm scared. Like, yeah, that's wave one. You know, like.
You're coming to the point now where they probably poked and tested every part of where they want to go, and kind of now know what we're getting into,
Hmm.
and now they could just boom. But here's what I say to the people of the Ukraine: if they're gonna go out fighting, man, once they're in the cities, see how many Molotov cocktails these guys are making. They should just toss them. Just toss all the Molotov cocktails you can go. Just
all
go.
the Molotovs,
All the Molotovs.
all the thermites, and
Yeah.
C4s.
Did you see them making the Molotovs? Holy
Semtex.
shit.
Oh no, I didn't. No, really?
Thousands, and they're picking up every bottle they could, and they were arming these citizens with Molotovs. So everyone, because this is what the plan was that I read. When they come in the city, you know where they are, but they don't know where you are technically.
Yeah.
So you just start tossing them.
You just toss all this
Just-
liquor.
All this, yeah, and you know what? When you're on fire, you can't shoot. You know that. You
Yeah.
can't shoot. You're gonna be running,
you're
rolling
going
and shit first.
straight to the gulag, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it'll be interesting to see once they start fighting in the city, which it will happen. There's no.
I mean,
doubt
they're
once
already. Oh, you mean when the
Well,
soldiers get in the city?
when the
There's-
soldiers fortify, like when they
there-
put the plant in, when they put the plant in, and then the big reinforcements start coming in, and then the more troops, like when they're fortified and you can't push them out,
You see-
it'll be.
Did you see the video of like this Ukrainian guy was driving on a road with his phone and he does a video and he stops at a Russian tank that ran out of gas, ran out of fuel. So he pulls up to the tank. He's like, "You lost, guys? What's up?" He's like, "Yeah, like we're out of fuel." It's like, "Oh, do you want me to tow you back to Russia?" And they start laughing.
Okay, what
He-
happened?
like the Russian soldier's kind of laughing,
Yeah.
and he's like inching, he's like kind of moving away because he's still driving in his car. But you could tell he was not like being chummy. He was like, "Get the fuck out of my country!" But
I'm
like,
surprised they didn't shoot the soldiers.
I was like, well, I just didn't know how the tank just didn't like turn around and shoot the guy, or like why didn't they shoot the guy? I don't think those soldiers even wanted to be there. Like from what
I
it
think
sounded
there's
like.
some that don't. There's
The
some that
Russians,
don't.
yeah, the Russians didn't want to be, but they're like, "Yeah, we ran out of fuel," and they're just like chill, like, "Oh, I don't know what else to do." And then he says something of like, get like, like basically in the message of like, "Get the fuck out of my country," as he drove away.
Yeah,
And then
I've been hearing
he
about
approaches
that.
a second tank that's also out of fuel, and that's when the
Jeez.
video cuts.
They should,
So it's
they should be arresting these soldiers, these Russian soldiers, just bum rushing them. Because if you don't get them now, they might kill somebody later.
bum Russian.
Mm.
Yeah.
I see what you did there, Russian.
But I
Anyway.
did see that there is a lot of tanks that are supposedly stuck on the side of the roads. And you know what people have been doing? Farmers have been stealing these tanks.
for tractors.
Yeah, they're taking whatever they can find and taking them.
just repurposing them. I guess yeah. If they're
Yeah.
being deserted, why
They're being
wouldn't
abandoned.
you?
Yeah, you might as well take it because they could use them again. Yeah, they're taking anything they find.
Yeah, you can sell it
Crazy.
black. You can sell it back to the black market and
You know,
make some
but
coin.
it's I mean, it's going to get interesting, I think, in the next couple of days. I mean, if they've already attacked the nuclear power plants, that means that's going to affect obviously the energy sources in the country.
Yes, yes.
Like people are going to start freezing, all that kind of shit. You know, the usual stuff that goes with it.
Dede shared this tweet, although there is a spelling mistake in it, but unless it's breaking, Ukraine's FM confirms Zaporizhzhia fire. If it blows up, it will be 10 times larger than Chernobyl. He spelled Chernobyl wrong. Russians must immediately seize the fire, allow firefighters to establish a security zone.
Do you think that was an actual attack or was that collateral? Did they want to disable it or like I don't know what they're trying to do? Like I'm just guessing. Like they don't want to blow it up, right? Like I mean,
that just seems
gonna kill everybody, even the soldiers.
Yeah, wasteful.
You're gonna kill all your soldiers too.
Yeah, like why? Yeah, and if you want Ukraine for resources and to expand, I get when there's a invasion that you raise a city. It's almost like if you're trying to rebuild a city in your own kind of image, yeah, raising a city kind of makes sense. But Ukraine's already has infrastructure that you could use, and Ukraine already has.
It's a metropolis,
and it was part of the Soviet Union, so there's nothing to raise. It's not like like you want Beijing to look like Moscow. It's like it looks like Moscow already, or you know what I mean? Like well,
they're not third world. They have they're right there with everybody else.
It would be a waste, and not even just to bomb a city, but to force nuclear fallout for years would be really stupid. Like that's stupid.
Yeah.
I think the bombing is probably just to cut power, but I don't think it's to destroy and spread radiation.
No, I don't think they want to blow up the nuclear. You know, like I think that might have been
cause a meltdown. But it's simple, man. Like I think what happened in Chernobyl, what happened in Japan, all these fail safes. I bet you first rocket hit, shut down. Like all the reactors probably just shut down. Like all their emergency shutdown procedures. You know what I mean? And so once the reaction's dead, yeah, you've got some radioactive material in there, you've got decay, and you've got the spent fuel, but you're not the fission is stopped at least, so it won't be a meltdown. There could be radioactive.
There's probably some leaking now.
For sure. Like that, and hopefully that's the worst of it. Hopefully that's the worst of it. But
Plutonium-12, all kinds of shit. The weirdest thing, I was just looking at that. Yeah. The blast radius for Chernobyl was 30 clicks. Yeah. So if this fucking goes, there's no one's gonna
300 kilometers.
300 kilometers. No, everyone's fine.
Where is that? Where is the?
What town is this in? Yeah, where is that?
Zaporizhzhia.
If that's at the border, that's gonna fuck up some of the Russian side.
All right, this is Zaporizhzhia. If I zoom out. Yeah, southern. It's between Donetsk and Kiev.
Yeah, 300 clicks. Well, that's huge.
300 kilometers. Let's see, Zaporizhzhia.
Well, that'll wipe out the whole city. 100%. That's the end of that.
So, distance from Zaporizhzhia to Kiev is about 550 kilometers.
Holy shit! So more than halfway.
300 kilometers would be more than halfway to Kiev. So
like that. I think
that's stupid.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't.
And that's a radius. Like
it would be the opposite direction as well into Crimea. You would destroy Crimea. You would just you would Krasnodar as well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're gonna see people with third limbs and shit.
I hope at least the podcast. Yeah, we're not making any crazy definitive learnable lessons at least, but hopefully, if you guys who are watching don't follow up or aren't really following up and keeping track of what's going on in the war, hopefully this was a source for you guys to kind of know what's going on. At least maybe form an opinion if you hear about it now. talk about it. Definitely don't ignore what's going on. It's scary right now. Like this stuff's really happening. It's sad. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm gonna probably edit the beginning of this video because I was muted for a lot of it. But as I read through that article, I'll have all the links of what we were looking at in the description, including this New York Times article about the truckers' protest. We'll be back again next Thursday at 10 p.m. hopefully for the next BrackCast. Yeah. Any other thoughts, guys? I'm just gonna wrap it up. I feel like it's a good time to wrap
No,
it up.
I think it's everyone's just gonna be waiting patiently by their every TV, phone, whatever they got, because this is like the number one thing right now in the world.
My number one source right now for updates is Day in the chat. And Day's source is probably tweets or whatever. It's on all social media platforms, man. It's on Instagram. I see it.
I watch all the stations.
Yeah,
I watch them all.
Okay.
It's nice to get a different take on it. But everyone on this one is the first time in a long time seeing everyone talking about the same thing.
But do you see like the people too? Do you see posts from people there, like live?
You know what? I actually just stormed the internet for that.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking for the most truest stuff. I always look for cell phone video.
Yeah. Yeah, these are users submitting stuff to like
exactly
collective Ukrainian accounts.
The news is only gonna show,
and they'll filter
I'm
too.
Curious. I'm kind of curious to see some of the carnage, in a way.
Okay.
I'll send you. Like I want to see stuff like that.
I'll send you that thing where I saw that jet fly over and shoot a missile, and then this kid starts crying and they're running in the basement. Basically, it's all like very real. Hopefully, it wasn't like doctored, but it all looked real. Yeah. And then you see like people just like driving regular traffic, because this person's in their window in their apartment. You just see cars kind of, and then there's some pedestrians, and maybe 2 kilometers away in the back, bam! You just see an explosion. You just see like war.
Yeah, like I mean, in this day and age, right? There's people everywhere, and everyone's got a phone, and by nature, everyone's just pulling out their phones.
Yeah,
in the Ukraine. Like I mean.
Yeah. Well, if you're not hiding in the metro or hiding in the
everyone's pulling out their phones, so it's going to get kind of chaotic. I think it's just going to get worse
before it gets better. Like,
yeah.
What's better? What would be better?
Better is when
truce?
When the fighting stops and there's only one man standing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either going to be the Ukrainians or the Russians, and if for some way they find a way to jump in other countries, because technically they can't, because this is not then you're starting a war with Russia.
Yeah, is this a war? What is the term called attrition? War of attrition, or is that when you're not fighting? Gradual process of wearing down, weakening. Oh yeah, no. So attrition. So I feel like, how long can Ukraine really keep up without help from other countries? Like, yeah, we're sending weapons, but eventually. I'm
gonna say maybe a month.
Yeah,
is tops, and that's not even knowing if that's at this pace. But if they amp up the pace, then maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah,
another 2 weeks. That's
if
about
they
it.
attack from multiple fronts too, and actually like move forward as a force, like a giant force. Anyway, thanks guys. Thanks Deji. Thanks Tom for coming. Yeah. Thanks for talking. Thanks for sharing. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace out.